jump. So
Yeah,
that's why
Gardevoir,
you have to pay.
definitely a big one.
Yeah, look, I didn't really know there was still a deck in 2010, I think.
Yeah, it
Until I
was.
lost to it in top 32, but
Oh, did
yeah.
you lose to Premawat in top 32? Or I believe there was one
No,
other
to some
Canadian
French
player.
guy, Canadian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Canadian.
Let me look at the results again. I believe he got sixth at the
I
event.
I don't know. I was still salty about that because like I had the game won, and then it was timeout, and he had taken one prize with Gallade.
Oh, okay, on
But
time. Gotcha.
yeah, I had the whole healing setup, so he would have never done damage again.
Yeah, it was either Curtis or Gordon. That would have been the people you played against, I believe. Or Matthew. There's three different Canadian Gardevoirs in top 32.
That's crazy. I don't remember.
It seemed like a pretty popular deck going into Canadian Nats, so that's not too surprising. They had their own
Yeah.
like variant they
Mm,
were cooking up over there, from what I hear.
yeah. It's like I don't know. I don't remember. It's just like I lost, and like 3 weeks later they introduced the +3 extra turns.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
the time +3. Yeah,
that would have won me the game, but
yeah, because you
it
can't
was just
steal
like
prize.
timeout, game is over. Sure.
Yeah, still
And he
it's
had like one prize with Gallade, and I had the whole setup. So yeah,
still it's really
I
good
was
that your list survived and like you're still here to tell the story of it because
yeah,
like a lot
yeah.
of
It's
players
it-
quit.
it's it's crazy to me. Like during Corona, like everyone is kind of doing bad. Yeah, so I'm just at home like, can we sleep? Like everything kind of sucks. And my friend messages me like at like 4 in the morning, like, dude, there's some Americans playing your deck on Twitch. So I open this Twitch channel, it's like 5 people watching, and they're just playing 2010. I'm like, hey, this is my deck. And they're like, oh, crazy. And I don't know, that just made me really happy, because like, the deck is so special in a way that, I mean, it's probably not the best deck. I'm like, sometimes I even wonder if it's actually good, or if it's just like, okay, and I was like decent at playing it, and like nobody was really all that great. But it's just a cool deck, and the deck people like.
I think the deck's pretty good. Some people kind of call it a little too fair because nowadays it's a little bit slower deck, right? You have a lot of
Yeah,
setup, but the biggest thing nowadays that's a problem is a lot of Lux Chomp decks play fire types, which does kind of it
yeah,
struggles with like Blaziken doing double damage and Infernape has been played a lot lately, and that's a card that top aided
Journey,
that
crazy.
World Championships. It was really popular with Asian players, from what I understand, at the time, because the Japanese players today
Um,
that play the format are really in love with that card as well. So
yeah,
that
that
card's been
that
a lot.
ruins it, obviously. Um, at Nationals, it was on Nationals was when the set with the dog or cat legendaries just released. It's called Undaunted, Unleashed,
Unleashed, yeah, that was the last set before
with the
Worlds.
anti Raikou. So like a bunch of the German Luxjump players, like the good ones, bought Luxjump with that thing in it. I just got super lucky and like top, like we had the bracket for tops, right? And I look at it and like it's me and all the like decent players, but not like the very scary ones, and not the ones playing anti-Raikou. They're all on the other side of the bracket. Also on the other side of the bracket is Jasmine, who's like an absolute monster with Gyarados, and she just murdered all of the good Luxembourg players. And then we played in the finals, and I basically had a free win. So
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
list
it's
can
like
be really scary because it carries the. I believe Jasmine played the special darks, which can like really
yeah.
be trouble
She
for the
dunked
setup
me.
decks.
Yeah, she dunked me game one in the final or game two. Hold on a minute. What the hell's going on? There's a loud noise in my house, but I don't think I'm talking that loudly, so
It's not picking up on
whatever.
the microphone, so you should be good.
Okay. Just feels like someone's knocking on the floor. Like If I was playing guitar, I'd understand it, but I'm not. I'm just talking, so
Might be
whatever.
from my end,
Um,
actually. My computer sometimes makes some like ticking and
no,
it's
it's really
doing
like this loud boom 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 stomping noise. Oh, whatever. Let's just keep going. If someone beats in my door, I'll let you know. Yeah, Jasmine donked me game two, I think, in the finals, and I think like the judge later told like we were not playing serious in the final because we both were going to Hawaii, so we were just kind of clowning around, even though we were playing like for like a few $100s. Like even the judge complained if we could at least pretend to play serious, and we were like, no. So I think game two in the final she donked me. And I think game three, she messed up the donk or something, because the judge later told us that he looked at her hand and she had the donk, but maybe she didn't see it, which would be weird to me, because she was really good at that.
Sometimes you
But
kind of get in your head about things, though, right? And
yeah,
things like that
uh,
happen. You miss the big plays.
yeah. But we played the matchup so much, it was. Um, but it was very super favored. Like she was super good with Gyarados, and she won like 30%. So it was just a very good matchup, and she beat all the fire types.
Yeah, so that
So
was a lucky break
I
for you
got
not
it.
hitting the Entei
Yeah,
Raikus.
absolutely. Yeah, because after like Mark Lutz.
What'd you say?
Um, do you know Mark Lutz? He's also
I've heard the
pretty
name.
famous German player. He won the regional Bremen one time. Anyways, he was staying at my house that weekend. So after I won and he came in third, I think, or something. We played the matchup against Enter Raikou and it was not fun. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's because like
lucky me.
the Entei Raikou is kind of frustrating, especially because like usually Blaziken or Infernape, you see it come down and it's like okay, it's I know that's coming because they put the basic down, but the Entei Raikou just comes
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
yeah. I played against one guy at Worlds like who played Donphan Enter Raikou
Yes.
with like Stark Mountain.
Yeah. Was it Tony? Taito, I believe it's pronounced. He was from Finland.
Yeah, Finnish guy.
Yeah, that
No
guy
idea his
took
name, but it was
19th with that deck.
crazy. Anyway, I played against that guy and I beat him. But he played down the anti-Raikou. It's crazy that I remember stuff like this like 15 years ago and I can tell you like gameplay things. Um, he played it down but didn't attack with it yet because he was missing something. So basically, I used Terra level X to drag up his Dawn Fence to stop him from attacking with the anti-Raikou. I just stalled him. Like I just had Nidoqueen, so he did no damage, so I just stalled. And then one turn, I basically went Third Wave, Rare Candy, Fighting to Terra, Expert Belt, DCE, drag up the anti-Raikou one-shot.
Yeah, 'cause that's a really big actually use for that Torterra tech. 'Cause he only has
Yeah,
one warp point in the list with the Donphan list, so it's kind of hard to move that Donphan out unless you pick
yeah.
it up with Super Scoop Up, which then that's a coin flip. So kind of a bit of a like you can definitely get him stuck there. I can definitely see that, but I've never actually
Yeah,
played that matchup just because I don't. I have both decks, but I never really played the Donphan one. So that's really interesting to
I
know.
had no idea what I was looking at. It was like, I mean, back then, it was, okay, decks you obviously knew, but people would just bring other decks and you were just like, okay, what is this? And then you just figure it out as you go. So I didn't really know what that deck was, but yeah, kind of figured out a way to deal with it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole thing for Worlds 2010 in general. There's a lot of like really kind of uncommon decks in this top 32 bracket. That was kind of a big notable thing for that year that people look back on because like realistically, people going into the tournament, I don't think we're preparing for Regigigas, Obama Snow, and Steelix, right?
Oh, Steelix, that was so funny. It was Eric Nancy, right?
Yes.
Who played the Steelix, and I don't think there was a stream, but somehow word got around that he beat Yamato with Steelix, and everyone like, what the hell is Steelix? And my friend just started like building retro decks, and he built the Steelix decks, and he played a few games with it recently, and he messaged me like, this is the dumbest deck ever, it literally just attacks. It's like,
Yeah, I have that
yeah,
one built. It's like it's really simple, and one of the things I don't like about it is it's not flexible. Because if you just hit a fire type, you're just kind of done.
yeah,
And
but
that's what ended up happening to him. Is he hit the player with the Infernape deck in their Lux Chomp that took him out of
yeah,
contention. but it's really strong if
Yeah.
they don't have a hard counter like that.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. um, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, but I mean, of course, it's not flexible, but it's also goes the other way around, right? Like other decks just cannot beat that. I think. Like if you don't have an out to that, you don't have an out to that. So
It does
yeah,
take a good player though, surprisingly, because that deck people kind of figured out how to play against it with Lux Chomp. Because like if you don't play a fire tech, it's really hard just to kind of like beat through it. But you can use a lot of lists use the Ambipom in Lux Chomp that moves the energy, and if you can catch them over
yeah,
benching, you can like kind of
oh,
disarm
yeah,
their Steelix's special metals, and then you can start doing damage.
yeah. I can see that. Yeah, yeah, maybe.
So I've
I don't really remember what was in it. It was just Steelix and like heal cards.
yeah,
Like doesn't
Blissey
have
and
this
then a
flip
bunch of
item?
healing ones. Yeah,
Like what's it called?
Moo
Some
Milk and
item, flip
Life
a coin.
Herb. Those are the two ones.
Life Up, yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
And he also had a really unique Pachirisu in there. I'm not really sure what that did, other than like get rid of like SP tools, I guess. But it's the one that discards tool cards that everyone
Oh
used to
yeah,
use in
that one.
2008.
I mean, people just trade one of that in a lot of decks, I think, because it's just a good setup Pokemon.
Yeah, he's also got the
Because
Cult for
of
Family,
family.
but he also had 4 Call Energy. So like I don't know if you necessarily need it, but it definitely it works. It does the job.
Yeah.
I do have some scripted questions just to ask you, just for the
Yeah.
purposes of fitting things into the right slots in the video. So if you don't mind,
Sure.
so I think you said it was you and a group of people that were like looking at the Flygon deck, right? How do you figure out
Mm,
Torterra as a great partner for Flygon in
okay, so
specific?
group is like it was me and one of my friends, Tobias,
Mm-hmm.
tasing. I mean, I had been playing Flygon like I used to do this thing where for a year I would just play the same kind of deck with different like flavors, I guess. So in like the first years, my first deck was LBS, and so the first decks I built were always like Steelix and some kind of energy acceleration when Blasters eventually rotated. So I played Meganium and I played I don't know what other cards that attached energy, everything. And then I played all Gardevoir, and then I played all like Gardevoir with the dumbest stuff. I played Gardevoir with Feraligatr from DP2 with EVs, and I don't know. So I was playing Flygon all year. I won regional with Flygon. I don't remember with what. Probably some fighting Nidoqueen. I even played Flygon at Worlds 2009, so it was kind of my thing playing Flygon. And I like so yeah. Flygon was my thing, and then we hadn't really settled on a deck. And I was just looking at card scans at night, like it was evening, sitting on my computer looking at card scans, looking at the Torterra, thinking, "Oh, that's funny. It does like 40. It's kind of bad, but doesn't say it heals 40. It says it heals as much as it does damage. So if you attach an expert belt at 60, that's not so bad. Maybe that's a fun deck I could play at some point. Sounds funny. Isn't that a Torterra level X? Oh, that was like the thought process. Oh, that's the Torterra level X, right? What does it do again? So I open the scan. It's like, oh, this is actually really good. Like that's a free Pokemon drag up, like boss effect every turn. That's pretty good. Wait a minute. The Torterra is a plant, a grass type Pokemon, so it does 80 and it has a drag up, so it can kill a Claydol. That's pretty good, actually. Huh. Wonder what I could play this with. It's big. It has like 4 retreat. What goes good? What's good with everything? Flygon. Guess we try Flygon Torterra. So I built the deck. But I wasn't serious about it. It was so like just some. I like building funny decks. So I built this, and I'm testing with Tobias the next day, and he's beating my ass. So I'm like just loading this deck for fun, just to get a reaction out of him. And he's like, "Are these proxies? Are these Turtwigs?" Because it was like Red Shark or Apprentice. So sometimes if I don't know if cards weren't like available, you'd take other cards and say this is this or something. And I'm like, no, this is a real Turtwig. And I beat him like 3-0 or something. But I'm like, okay, but this is just a joke deck. Let's just move on from this. And he's like, no, this is good. We're staying on this. And he goes over the list with me, and he's the one who really said, like, let's actually put effort into this. This is actually something good and not just a joke. And he also like made some very important changes to the list, I think. Like at the day of Nationals, on the drive, well, on the way back, I still had Palmas, I think, the supporter that puts back 5 Pokemon.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I arrive at the venue, and he goes like, okay, let's switch this for night maintenance. This is better. Because we had handwritten paper deck lists, right? So we could just change that. And the one war point is also his idea, because like I could never really figure out why would you run one random war point? Like what? You cannot search this. It was not a color like because I couldn't make sense out of it. But he insisted on running one war point, and it saved me so many games.
Yeah, Warp
It's just
Point's
kind
one of
of
those cards
just
where
weird.
like the opponent never really expects it. So like it's definitely
Yeah,
like good, and it could get you out of like a trap too if they try to like bring up your
yeah.
Claydol.
You can really get them if they're not prepared or they have a low bench because they're drawing bad. But since it's not searchable and it doesn't really have a point in the deck, like you don't need it. Like there's nothing it's necessary for. So I didn't like it, but he insisted on it and it was super good.
Yeah, I have a question actually
So
in that regard, if you don't mind.
yeah,
Did you run
sure.
the same list for Nationals as Worlds?
No, there was some changes. I've been trying to remember what it was for like a year. I know I ran 4 Rare Candy instead of the Nidorina. I ran 2 Judges instead of Pokemon Communication, I think. And that's the one I can remember. I know for sure I ran, this is totally stupid, a Professor M's trainings method. 1.
I mean,
Because I wanted
it's
a fifth supporter to get the Claydol. Because I figured if I get
yeah,
Claydol, I win. Because I'm the better player. So if I draw cards, I win.
yeah. BB's is like a really good card, so it kind of makes sense because a lot of O8 decks do like a similar thing where they play 4 Celios, but then they still add like BB's in because Claydol's just so
Yeah.
good.
So I had one, but I don't remember what I cut. Like I can ask Tobias, I can message you if he remembers. But like these were the changes. Like two judge out, or yeah, 2 judge out for the communication. Nidorina instead of the 4th Candy, which is crazy in a deck with 3 stage 2 Pokemon, but and something for the Elm. And I also ran one Turtwig. There was a different Turtwig. There was a promo from some Easter egg. Like there was actually an egg as a product with like the Turtwig promo and boosters in it. Packs.
Interesting. I don't think we got that kind of product over here.
And like I only had one of these, so I only went runner that Turtwig and then the other one, but then forwards I changed it. Let's see if I find a picture. Turtwig promo 2010.
I definitely agree with swapping the Turtwig though to the other one. It's actually the Unleashed one
It,
that you used in your
it's
Worlds
this
deck is
one, I
the
think.
only one that can actually retreat for
Yeah, it's this
one.
one, I think.
Oh yeah, that guy. I think he came out in a tin over here.
Yeah,
We get a lot of things in
yeah.
like either blisters
I
or
think it was
tins.
an Easter egg or something. Some very silly product. It's sitting in my binder somewhere. I kept it because it's like a very unique card and it won me nationals. So
Yeah, it's a nice
um,
keepsake.
I also had the wrong stage 1, I think, on my deck list because I took one of Tobias's printed deck lists, but we actually never discussed which stage 1 to run. So he had a different one. So during the tournament, I kind of noticed that he had a different one than me. Like after round 1, so I went to the head judge and I was like, sorry, I have the wrong card on my deck list, what do I do? And the judge goes like, you have 10 minutes before the next round starts, good luck, try finding the right one. And so I just ran and found some kids and traded them a bunch of cards for the right stage 1, so I didn't get like a game loss. And later I found out the kid I traded like a bunch of trainer cards for the stage 1 was David Hochmann, who commented the Japanese Worlds Finals.
Oh
Because
yeah,
he's
yeah,
from, because he's from my league.
yeah.
Like, he started at my league, so that was kind of funny. But the stage 1 is not a big deal, so yeah,
I,
these are basically the changes.
I've won a game with the Grottle, actually, the sleep powder Grottle that you played in your worlds list. I've won a game by
Sleep
copying that
powdering.
attack, and I got a sleep powder slip on a Crobat that let me stall a turn before. So it's not bad. It's not
Yeah,
bad.
I generally don't remember what it does. Like,
It's like really mediocre, but you get a heads flip and you get a sleep, and like that's good
it's like
enough.
for 2 energies, like 20 in sleep or something.
You have to flip for the sleep, so it's only a 25% chance you actually get it.
Ugh, that's gross.
But you know, when it's the only option.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
That's one of the things that
Like
your list
I
actually
won I
doesn't
won
have
games with
was Memory Berry.
yeah, like um. So how do I explain this? I've always been like one of the like um. I always felt like stall decks were kind of dishonest. Like today it's more accepted or something because I always thought it was kind of gross to win that way. So it's just never crossed my mind to play that. I mean, it makes sense obviously, but it's just not something I wanted to do. I just didn't want to sit there and memory lock someone. Like, it just felt dishonest to me.
That's
It's
fair.
silly, I know, but yeah, it's just not what I like to do. I also feel like the deck has it beats a lot of things if it sets up. So do you really need it? I never tested it, so I have no idea. But
It's really good against some decks. Other decks you just don't use it. Like you're never going to use it against like
yeah,
Lux Chomp, but
yeah, yeah,
it wins you a lot of games against like other slower decks, evolution decks that
yeah, I can
sometimes
see
have
that.
ways to deal with your Torterra. So usually people nowadays, a lot of people, that's like the one card change they do from your like your worlds list is just adding one of those.
Makes sense.
It's not the most honest way to win, but it is it opens up a whole nother route of the deck. So some
I'm
people
not
really like
saying
it.
it actually is dishonest. Just felt that way to me. But I've always been like, I don't like aggressive decks. I don't like decks that donk. I don't look like decks like Snorlax. Like it's just not how I want to play.
That's fair.
Like, or I mean, nowadays maybe I would because I understand it's a competition and you need to do what you need to do to win a comp. But back then I was really like, no, I need to build the most complicated, weird deck that's possible, and I need to find a way out for everything. And unless I do that, I don't want to play or win or whatever. Because the year before, um, I played Palkia for nationals. Because it was very obviously the best deck. It was super broken. But it's also super unfair. You would just power lock your opponent like, Plox? No, no, what? No, not Plox. Legos. Legos was the name.
Yeah, for the Palkia lock deck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Palkia lock. And it just felt cheap to win that way. And every one of my friends wanted to test against that. So I played this deck for weeks. I played hundreds of games with the deck because everyone wanted to play against it and I beat them all. So the day before Nationals, I have this really shitty deck built. I'm like, this is my deck. I want to play this like Magnezone, Gardevoir, whatever. Not good. And I'm sitting there like, oh, I have this Legos deck. I know it's broken. I know it's super unfair. But I don't want like I felt like a bad person for bringing that deck. So I'm sitting there instead of testing or doing something actually useful. I'm thinking, should I play my shitty deck? Or should I play the actually good deck? It's tough. And I brought the Legos deck and it was super unfair and super strong and I went undefeated in Swiss. And then I got Paladins, gets a random lightning deck in top 32 and lost, but happens. But it's just me. I always feel like I have to I'm not allowed to do unfair things. Or I feel bad if I do that, I guess.
Yeah, I could definitely see
Yeah.
not wanting to play, especially if you're like you're still playing for fun. I know there's not nearly as much money back then online, so like
Yeah.
there's still like
Oh,
definitely the world's invite and stuff like that. But I can definitely understand not wanting to play Palkia in specific because I've played that deck before. And it's just like, well, I'm just gonna Mesprit, I'm gonna attach, and you're gonna do nothing.
yeah, fucking hate it. Yeah. I just felt so bad for playing that. But I also noticed that, hey, if I actually run a good deck, or the year before the Gardevoir deck, which also did the same thing. Power lock, power lock, power lock, power lock, was so broken. So what did I do? I added like 15 different other things into the deck to do, so I don't have to power lock, so I can do other things. Because power locking is unfair. Yeah.
Welcome to
I just
2008.
had a
That's the
very,
whole format.
very, very, very special mindset about things. Like, I really needed to work on that, because when people actually became good, and you couldn't afford to be like, oh no, this is beneath me, or I don't want to win that way. But in modern Pokemon, you cannot do stuff like that. You cannot just go like, oh, I will just bring my random binder drop deck, but I'm the better player, so I will probably still win.
We've
Because
seen
that's how my first year.
one or two examples of that recently. Last year there was a rogue Arceus Gyarados deck, and this was way after Arceus was like kind of deemed as like, it's not that good anymore, right? This is like
Which, oh
2023.
yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and a guy took it all the way to second, and this was his first ever regional. So sometimes you get little miracle
Oh yeah, I
stories like
remember
that.
that. Yeah, but even then he probably had a plan and was not just like my decks are always too convoluted. I try to fit everything. Like so, because I figured if I have options, I can outplay other people. Because I have the options and I'm good enough to use all the options, understand all the options. But I sacrifice consistency and sometimes it's just convoluted for the sake of it. Because I could have just run Psychic Lock and it would have been fine. I didn't need to read to add Leaf on level X to Gardevoir. Stuff like that. Oh, someone's ringing the door. Hold on.
Yep.
Do you have 1 second? I switch to the laptop, go to the other room, and then we'll continue?
Yeah, that's fine.
Does it work for you? Alright, I'll be right back.
Sure.
Me again.
Alrighty.
Is the quality acceptable?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually kind of
Alright.
better. Not gonna lie, it's a little less echoey over here. So.
Alright.
I have another question about specifically. There's two questions about text. One of them you kind of answered already, but just in case there's any other things that popped up, this is about Torterra Stormfront, so the fighting guy.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the most interesting cards. Like people sometimes were talking in from what I've seen, like the old forum posts, which were talking about Torterra Unleashed. They recognize like this card's kind of decent. People were not playing the fighting Torterra though, and like other than checking Luxray. And of course, you talked about Entei Raikou Legend. Were there any other uses you found for it?
Mm, I'm trying to remember. I mean, the idea was just to check Lux Trump. Because
Yeah,
the whole deck was just built to be Lux Trump. And back then, like, a lot of Pokemon had, like, branching evolution lines, where you would run, like, one Magnezone this, one Magnezone that. And so, when you build a deck and you figured, hey, using this Torterra, you would just look, okay, what other Torterras are there? Do they have any use? So, yeah, the fighting Torterra was just for Lux Trump. I'm just thinking if there were any other. I mean, it's a decent attacker, like, if you have nothing else going on.
yeah, because it only takes one
It
energy.
attacks for one energy. I don't think I've ever used the ability. I mean, it's possible in theory, but no.
Yeah, it's kind of hard in
Um,
that specific deck, just because with your list, I believe you only played two
yeah,
Turtwig line, right?
yeah. You would have to have the Torterra from Rare Candy active, and then you would have to have the other Turtwig on the bench, and then Evo into the Grotter.
I've seen it used, but specifically, it kind of fulfills a new niche in kind of what I'll call modern 2010, right? People just playing it for fun
Yeah.
nowadays. The card is actually quite good against Gardevoir in specific. Um,
What?
it's kind of
That
an
makes no
interesting
sense
one.
to me.
Essentially, modern lists are playing a lot of Spirit Tomb, right? Which the guy who helps you set up your board.
Yeah.
But Gardevoir has the option to snipe around the Spirit Tomb with the Azelf level X, which has like a sniping attack. So if you just
Yes.
sit behind the Spirit Tomb, you're like, oh, you're just gonna KO my Spirit Tomb, I don't care. They'll just start
Yeah.
sniping around you. So the Torterra Stormfront, this is really funny, but ironically, because it self damages with its own attack, you can eventually force your opponent to either knock it out or you will knock yourself out, and you will give them prize cards so their Gallade becomes less powerful.
It's what does it do again? 16 and 20 to itself?
Yeah, and it forces the opponent to switch, which is actually like the switching effect is also really good against Gardevoir in specific, because if you make them play down their level X, then your Flygon can kill the level X.
So they can switch, and then you.
Yeah, it's hard for them to switch around their board because they either have to play the Moonlight Stadium, which Flygon can steal a turn off of, or they play down the level
Yeah.
X, which Flygon can kill. So like it's actually got like a kind of a modern day niche other than just killing Luxray.
That's so funny. Like,
Yeah,
so you kill your own. No, wait.
yeah, you
But
can kill your own
what does it do
Torterra.
with Spiritomb?
So Spiritomb, just like a lot of lists like my list nowadays run 2 or 3 of the Spiritomb because you just
Yeah.
like to set up behind it. But like I said, they don't have to
Yeah.
kill the Spiritomb; they can snipe around it.
Yeah, but what does Terra do with that? So.
Well, Torterra, you just pivot into its low energy attacker, right? And
Oh,
essentially,
that's what you mean.
yeah,
Okay.
the idea is just to give up enough prize cards before your opponent gets their Gallade in. That way, they can't one hit KO your tanky Torterra.
That makes sense.
So it's really strong. The other question I had about a tech in your deck, this is like one of a kind tier list, was the Bronzong E4. You really did not see that
Yeah.
guy.
No. So okay. So I have this memory. I trying to. Yeah. I don't remember exactly. I remember I was at a tournament in the Netherlands, and I was talking with my friend Steven about this card, and I'm not sure. I think he ran it, and he didn't like it. Something. I just have this memory. Steven Bronzong Netherlands. Don't remember the exact details, but I kind of liked it, so I traded for one at some point because back then you had to trade for stuff. So I saw a kid with one of these, and I was like, "Do you want to trade that?" So I had the foil one, and it just, like I said, the deck was built to beat Luxtromp, and yeah, the Bronzong just disrupts that Cyrus chain. Like they play Cyrus, get another Cyrus,
Yeah.
and it was so consistent and powerful. And then you would just give them 4 random cards, while you would like set up 3 Cladors. I mean, not 3, but you had 3 Cladors, so you would also set up. So the idea was to slow them down with a Bronzong, so you would eventually get up. Like they would try to kill the Baltoys, right? But if you just give them 4 random cards, it's actually not that easy to kill the Baltoys because you need the Rocklex for level X and blah blah blah. And they maybe use the Cyrus, so they have one less Cyrus. So there's only 3 in the deck, so it's hard for them to get the pieces. And even if they kill the Baltoy, you promote the Bronzong again, and you disrupt their chain again, and you put down other Baltoy. That's why there's 3 in the deck. So, and it's also kind of tanky. Like,
Yeah.
like 98 points is actually really, really beefy. And it also eats Gyarados, because, yeah, they use Sableye to get 3 Magikarp, and you just shove them back in the deck. So,
I was hoping you'd
Green-
mention the Gyarados thing because it's always funny when you get
yeah,
a person because they like in America they do the World Championship like printed decks.
yeah,
Where they like print those decks. The Gyarados one they picked from seniors does not play any cards to like discard. Like a lot of people played like Regice back then
Yeah.
to discard the Magikarps from hand immediately. So if you just like put the Bronzong up, you just win that Gyarados because they just cannot discard their guys without any guys on their board.
yeah. No, that's what also makes it a super easy matchup because like it takes them so long to set up, and like Gyarados wants to have a big hand, you just go like no, 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 and then they might even have to 2-shot the Bronzong. And yeah, like I said, it's beefy. There's a free attack, gives you new cards, takes the opponent's cards away. So I don't know why no one else played that. Like it definitely won me nationals. And my opponents were also confused when I dropped that. Like everyone had to read that card. 'Cause nobody knew what it did. And I remember after round 1, I think, where I beat a friend who was playing Lux Trump, and Mark Lutz walks past my table and looks at the table. And he just, which has like FlyTerra, Flygon, Bronzong, and he just makes this disgusted face and just shakes his head, like just walks away, like doesn't even want to talk to me. He's like, what the hell, man?
That sounds like an
And
epic board to me. I don't know.
yeah, just I had the whole thing. I think I took the last price he tried to storm me with Claydol. So I attached 2 energies to Claydol with an expert battle and one shot a Luxray.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen the Claydol get in there, especially at the Stark Mountain decks where you can move the energy around.
Yeah, yeah. And like my top 16, my top 8 well, I don't remember, there was top 32 probably. There was all Lux Jump. Then I had 3 Claydors and the Bronzong, so I just beat them all. And then at Worlds I actually only faced 2 Lux Jump, I think. I played against Kettler in round 2, and I think he turn 2 killed my one Turtwig and turn 3 killed my other, and I didn't draw the Night Maintenance, so I just lost. And I played against Simon Eriksson, and I priced the Bronzong, so at Worlds I didn't use it once. Like, not once.
Yeah,
So,
and it's not like that good against like the other Claydol decks because they draw out of it. So it's
yeah,
mainly for like
obviously.
Lux
It's
Jump.
against Lux Jump, yeah.
One of the other things it's really good for, and this ties into another question that I had, was it's really good against like Sableye. Because like the Spirit Tomb is another good setup
Yeah.
piece, but Sableye in specific, they can use the Special Dark to KO your Spirit Tomb.
Yes, yes.
And Bronzong, that bulky 90 HP, definitely makes it a lot harder. Plus, you get rid of their Cyrus Chain.
Yeah.
And going into Worlds, a lot of people were playing Sableye. This was like a big deck, especially because it won US Nats that year, which
Yeah,
was
it
like the
wasn't big in Europe. It wasn't really a thing on my mind. I was figured, okay, it's just. I think I just figured it's just a shitty Lux Trump, honestly. I was kind of ignorant. It was not a big thing on my mind, but I figured I can probably be the same way after Bronzong. They don't even kill my Glados that fast, so should be fine. I think that's all the thought I put into it. I tested a lot against Dialga uh, SP though, and that matchup was actually pretty hard. Like I had my friend Danny over before Worlds for a few days because my parents were gone, so we just stayed out at my parents' house and just played past Pokemon and ate pizza all day. And I think we eventually figured out that Dialga can deafen until they have a Dialga with 4 special metal, and then you cannot one-shot it anymore, then you lose.
yeah, and you can't Giga Drain it for any damage either.
Yeah. Like, they could just deafen until they get all the special metals, so that was a really hard matchup. But the Saberlog wasn't really a thing on my mind. Like, I think a lot of people back then thought it was a fluke. At least that's what I saw a Pokegem or something. It was some... I don't remember exactly, but I think a lot of people weren't taking the winner, the US Nets winner serious.
That's surprising, honestly, because that not only was that deck like it's really strong even in retrospect, but also that same player went on to get ninth at Worlds after the
Yeah.
U.S. Nats win. So like a really really good run that year.
Yeah, I think he lost to Jasmine.
Oh yeah, Gyarados can be tough, especially like
Yeah.
if they get like a Gyarados up, you kind of
Didn't,
have
didn't he
to
get...
brick them.
And Jasmine came in top... Came in fifth, I
Fifth,
think.
yeah, fifth.
So didn't he make top 4 of the
Uh,
Saberlock?
no, Sableye
I
didn't make
think he
top
made
four.
not the Saberlock.
Sableye got ninth. That was its highest place.
Hmm. Maybe I misremember. I thought she lost to that deck.
Top four
But
was Miguel Garcia from Switzerland on Luxchamp
yeah,
with the
Migor.
Entei Raikou.
That's so funny to me. Because he's one
Um,
of the friends of Mark Lutz from the test group.
oh,
I
okay.
dodged at Nets. But he
Um,
also barely played, so it was kind of crazy that he got this really big finish. He's also the nicest guy in the world, so was super happy for him, but it was unexpected.
I felt kind of bad actually because I had an interaction with them. I did a tier list on like my opinions on the 2010 decks, and I didn't rank Luxchamp Entei Raikou as high as the other Luxchamps, and he commented on my video that the deck's good.
Yeah, he's special, but he's super nice. So
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was them who beat it out. The other ones in top four were Yuda with the Luxchamp, Pramawat with Gardevoir, and then Frank Diaz with the Gengar deck.
Yeah.
Which, like, Gengar was also another deck, like, people knew it existed, but it really didn't, like, pop off until, like, US Nats and Worlds that year. It's kind of feel like everyone knew it was there, but, like, it didn't really have the placements from, like, the tournament results.
Yeah, I don't think it was like a big deck.
And
I think it was
nowadays
kind of
it's
a
like,
beginner deck.
what'd you say?
Like a deck for like beginners, like it was solid deck, but nothing special, nothing you would bring.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean it's a really good deck. Like
Yeah,
partially just strong against Luxchamp.
I don't remember honestly. The feigning spell just made me not want to play it because that also felt cheap.
Yeah, honestly, like I love playing Gengar decks. He's one of my favorite attackers, but every time you get a feigning spell off, it's just like I wish I just like I want to win the game. Like I'm playing for fun at this point, right? There's no money on the line. I want to win the
Yeah,
game by like taking all six of my prizes by my
it's
own
one of the
means.
worst cards they've ever printed, I think. Like, what the hell?
Especially when they made the Vile Plume, like it gets really obnoxious then because you can't even like
Ugh,
warp point it out of
ugh,
the active.
ugh, ugh. I was what 1 year at Nationals, I think it was the year after. I had to win it in for day two, and I played against Gengar and had no option but to just punch into Feigning Spell and hope for the best. And my opponent is the win it in for day two, right?
Yeah.
My opponent just puts the Gengar into the discard pile, promotes something new, and just keeps on playing. And I'm like sitting there like, I pick up the Gengar. It says you may flip a coin. Okay. If that's what he wants to do, and he sees me reading the Gengar, putting bet down, looks at the Gengar and goes like, oh, oh,
Oh, you
yeah,
forgot. He forgot to flip the
yeah, I
coin.
forgot. No,
Yeah.
I checked if he is allowed to forget it, because, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
not
it
a
says you
mandatory thing,
may.
so if
Yeah.
he puts it in the discard pile, it's not my problem.
Yeah, you got to take what you can get, right?
Yeah, I probably would have reminded him if it wasn't optional, but
Yeah, because
it
it is
is,
a you
so,
may, so you don't have to do it for the game
yeah.
to go on. Um,
Like, you can choose not to flip.
yeah, yeah. I love Gengar, especially it's just like a fun like Cursegar's fun to play because it does the whole hit and run thing, and I also really
Yeah,
enjoy Gengar Garchomp, which is a deck that like it's another deck that like wasn't really a thing until
Gengar
later in the
Garchomp?
season. Yeah, it's like you pair it with the Garchomp level X that snipes.
Oh, that got him. Okay, I thought it was
Yeah.
stage 2 and I was like,
No, no,
oh yeah,
it's
I remember there was a thing. Didn't it? Wait, did Gengar heal all Pokemon or just his SP Pokemon? Uh,
Garchomp heals the
Garchomp.
SP Pokemon, but the reason you'd play them together is it's like Gengar snipes, but like it doesn't discard energy, so you always have like a fallback plan after you use Dragon Rush, and you can't use it twice in a row.
Yeah.
And like also the Gengar had the level X where you like got rid of one of your opponent's level X's, and that like a lot of times in the when you're playing against like Luxchamp, it puts their own like Lux raising Garchomps into range of your Garchomp.
Yeah.
And that deck's one of my favorites. It got top 32 at Worlds that year, and I believe it won Australian Nats. But it kind of was another one where it kind of like popped up later in the season.
Hmm. Yeah, kind of makes sense, I guess.
It's
Also,
kind of a
Gengar's
weird
just a
one.
cool Pokemon. And I think like Gengar has the most awful cards, like that Fading Spell Gengar. And like, when was the last playable Gengar card?
We had Gengar VMAX, I think was the last one. That one was good.
Oh yeah, playable. Air quotes. But yeah, it saw some play, but
It was mainly because of Mew VMAX, and like
yeah.
it being Dark type. You hit Dark type weakness, and then by the time Worlds came out, that was pretty much in the past.
Yeah, it was just like a niche thing.
Yeah, and Gengar doesn't get as many
Which is
good cards as like Mewtwo does, which is
Yeah, which is
surprising.
crazy because Gengar I feel like is one of the OG coolest Pokemon. And then you look at all the playable Gardevoir cards, and you look at all
Yeah.
the playable Gengar cards. Like, where does he get no love?
I mean, he's got a fair bit of love to be fair. He's got, especially
Yeah.
Generation 4, that was a highlight time, and then also during XY, I don't know if you played during this time, but there was a really good hit and run Gengar deck with Trevenant, so a really like nasty item
Oh yeah,
lock
that.
strat.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I basically always played in some way. Like I stayed up to date with the stuff. Maybe I didn't go to too many tournaments, but I kind of. I think the only thing I really skipped is the Bella and Bryson man thing.
Oh yeah, that form was awful.
Cause people are telling me with like PTSD, like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever, and I have no idea what they're talking about. Like, I just randomly saw that card was banned. Like, what does it even do? I've never seen this card before.
That was an
So I think I
interesting
skipped
one
it.
for sure. Because it wasn't. I don't even think they banned it because of it being in control. Because the idea was it milled the top three of both players' decks, but there was a control
Yeah.
deck that would go to 0 cards, so it only milled your opponent, and you just put cards back at the end of your turn, so you didn't deck
Mhm.
out. And you just spam that over and over and over again. It's really obnoxious, but they
Yeah.
banned it like 6 months after it had already been succeeding. It wasn't like it did anything interesting, and it kind of fell off a little bit, and then they banned it. But I think they banned it for its secondary effect on the card, which if you discarded like so many cards from your hand, both players had to like go to like three benched Pokemon. So it's like a giant stump effect.
Oh, I see.
And the reason I
Pretty
think
strong.
they got rid of that, like it wasn't even used that often as an effect, but the reason I think they got rid of it is because they were printing that new Eternatus VMAX, which was like a bench deck. Like you played a full bench,
Oh yeah.
and I think they didn't want it to like get in the way of that deck because you had a auto
Well, they
counter already
wanted to
built in.
still. Yeah, they were afraid it would get in the way of selling packs if the new thing is hard counted from the beginning.
Yeah, and like usually I
Yeah.
wouldn't say they'd be on that message, but like if you look at the way they're printing cards during Sword and Shield, every single set was like, this is the new deck, you have to buy this, and it counters the
Yeah.
deck that we printed 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So like
My friend
that's
has this theory that the Claydol was originally designed to be a counter for the Absol from Diamond Pearl 3,
yeah, that makes sense to be fair, because the Absol is really nasty.
but the Claydol just randomly happened to be also one of the best cards ever printed. So
Oh,
they
see,
were like
I love Claydol.
overdoing it a bit. I think like the card is slightly broken. I think it's a healthy broken because every deck can use it, and it's just I think a game is more fun if you see cards. So I don't think it's bad, but it's objectively a broken card.
Yeah, it's
But
like one of
yeah,
those
the
like
Absol
balance
was
broken.
the worst. One of my first cities I played, I saw two Danish guys playing the Absol Blissey Mirror. So both of them had an Absol with a cessation crystal and no cards in hand. They were just sitting, drawing, passing. Like,
That
yeah.
sounds
So
awful because I've played against the Honchkrow deck from 2008, which is like it leads off with the Absol, and it's just obnoxious.
yeah, I lost in top 8 of nationals in 2008 to a guy running a random Absol in Gardevoir, and I had like 4 useless Pokemon, one Celio's Network, and one Claydol. And he picked the Celio and then the Claydol, so I never could set up.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Awful
because you
card.
hit 2 cards if you hit the trainer cards, right?
Yeah, if you hit a trainer, you go again once. So yeah, he just carded the only 2 useful cards in my hand in the correct order.
I'm so glad they got rid of the Cessation Crystal like not long after that card was
Yeah,
printed because Cessation Crystal in general just not a fun card to play with.
no, like I understand the idea of floodgates. Like I'm very interested in like game design, so I always have very strong opinions on whether a card is healthy or not. Like a lot of people like, for example, Path to the Peak,
Yeah,
because it's kind of a necessary card. But I always wish we'd get like more like soft floodgates where I don't know, you cannot use the first ability you try to use every turn or something. So it's not like Path to the Peak, you're dead. Or you remove it and I just play the useless card. Like it's very all or nothing. Either you play a path and you just win, or it is nothing.
yeah, I think
And like
we really saw that with 2011 when they uh, got rid of the Poke Powers, Poke Bodies, put it all into abilities because you can't
yeah,
really do those soft locks on like one side of the aisle anymore.
yeah, you had the Latios back then, right?
Yeah,
2007?
yeah, that was
It's
2006,
just not
2007.
Pokemon bodies, I think.
Yeah, and you had
Yeah.
Dialga, which just did it for bodies as well. Gardevoir just did it for powers, but now you just have to do it both the ways. I just sent you a old post I posted on Twitter that I think you'll like.
Yeah, love that card.
I've got so many clay dolls because I'm just known as the 2010 guy. I don't know if I live up to it, but I've got so many decks for 2010 that I just amassed
Yeah.
so many of these clay dolls. Um,
Yeah, I got like 3 Spanish foil ones. Cause back then you got like in the World's Competitor pack you got random packs from all countries.
oh, that's really cool.
So from my 2008 competitor pack, I think I pulled like 2 foil clay dolls from 2 packs and I traded for the third one. So I have the Cosmo Forza clay dolls.
Yeah, because it's the Spanish one, right? So it's actually really
Yeah.
cool. I wish they would do that more
Yeah, that
nowadays.
was so like it was just I don't know, so different. Like nowadays, I know that Spanish cards are for some reason like half the price of other cards. Like Spanish and Italian cards are always the cheapest one on card market. I'd be like, ah, less valuable booster. Why would I do that? Back then, I was just excited. Oh, look, a funny booster in a funny language.
Oh
And I got a
yeah, yeah. And back then
Grand
you could also
Order,
play
and
those too.
it's called Aqua Guac. And it was just like, and it actually traded people for these boosters because I just enjoyed it. And at worst, 2009, I think, they even gave them out at the league, like the Spanish graded counters boosters or something. So they were about to close, and I went to one of the guys running the league, and I basically just went like, is there any other way to get these boosters? Because I'm really getting a kick out of opening these other languages. It's really fun. He just looks me in the eye, goes to the league thing, grabs like a handful of packs, walks up to me, sits them down on the floor. Oops, I dropped these, and walks off.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing with like the Europe that I hear from a lot of Europe players, like the cheaper languages versus more expensive languages. Because I have
Yeah.
a German friend named Richard who also builds old decks, and sometimes he'll resort to like different languages since it's cheaper.
What's
Um,
his last name? No, couldn't be. Because there was some guy with that name back then playing, but I don't think it's him.
no, I don't think
Probably not.
he's. I think he played Yu-Gi-Oh back then.
Oh, no.
He's a big Yu-Gi-Oh player that just like kind of dabbles in old Pokemon since he doesn't have to build new decks all the time. So
I see, it makes sense. Yeah, like, for some reason, Spanish and Italian cards are super cheap, and I always wonder, like, are the packs cheaper over there? Is it just no one buying them? But then, how does... I don't know. I'm not much of a trader guy.
I think it's
It's
partially
just
a
weird when you...
collector thing because like a lot of people get English cards for their collection.
Yeah. But German cards, for example, are, like, super expensive. I mean, not super expensive, but there's a difference. Like, German cards are more expensive than English ones. But the Italian ones are, like, half of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a few
Uh,
French cards. They're always my favorite. I've got my one Stage 2 Garchomp deck from 2010, and it's got the rare candy called Super Bonbon, which is fun.
oh, yeah. We traded for these at like Worlds every year. I have like Spanish ones, Caramela Rara. Probably butchering that pronunciation, but yeah, Caramela Rara. So
Okay, so they actually give it like a distinction as a
yeah,
type of thing.
this is the Aqua Guac.
Yeah, I like him.
And I don't know, there was a thing back then, just trading for different languages, because there was no card market. You couldn't get these cards like. So at Worlds, you'd see people like, hey, you have like a Spanish rare candy. And people were like, oh yeah, do you have a German one? And you're like, yeah, sure, let's trade. And that was very in the spirit of Pokemon, I think.
Yeah, that's really cool
Where
actually.
it's not like you roll up to a tournament and you play 3 rounds and then you drop because you just leave and like nobody really talks to each other. But it was more like a just nerds hanging out and just trading for stuff they think is cool. And not everything was about like, oh, I get this prize money and if I go here and do this, and if I tie and you just play. So
That's one of
yeah,
the reasons I enjoy casual, because I've never really been much of a competitor. I've been like League Cup, local level, and like
yeah,
smaller like city championships and stuff. I've never been much of a competitor, but I do have a small group of people that we all play old decks together in the
yeah,
Madison, Wisconsin area, and you kind of get those vibes where like sometimes we don't even do trades that are like worth the same thing. A lot of times it's just like I want you to finish this deck so I can play against it, so I'm going to give you a good deal on these, right?
yeah. I do this thing where when I trade, I'm like super. Oh, this is like 50 cent more than this. So add this, but then the next time giving the guy 10 euros worth of cards for because he needs them, just like keep them. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but yeah. No, I also like I enjoy the game, so that's kind of why I always shied away from these lock decks and like unfair win conditions and stuff, because I always felt like I'm here to play a game, and I don't want to do that because it's not that serious. And if I'm not having fun playing, what's the point of playing at all? Like I always used to say before I played deck X, I'm just gonna get a second job because then I'm also not having fun, but then at least I'm making money.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I have two more questions that are specifically from one of my friends. His favorite deck is FlyTerra. His favorite Pokemon is Torterra, so he wanted to get an insert
yeah,
in on this. One of them was in your list. I believe you played two Torterra, which was like, and then three Flygon. Right? It's like a
yeah,
thicker Flygon line, thinner Torterra line.
yeah,
Sometimes people nowadays they'll play like two Flygon and
yeah.
then
That's
three
switching up, right?
Torterra.
Yeah,
Was there any reason for like the thinner Torterra, thicker Flygon, or was it just like kind of like, you know,
I mean the Totara doesn't really die, right?
yeah,
Like if the Totara dies, you're probably losing anyways. So setting up a second one is kind of pointless. And the Flygon has the colorless weakness, so it actually dies.
yeah, because Luxchamp
So
gets it.
that's why, yeah. And then you also have like Flygon is the better. Like if you're in a pinch, you maybe need a Flygon to do the 40 and discard a Stadium against Gyarados or something. Or you can do Flygon with an Expert Battle and DCE and one-shot a Guard Jump and take the energy off their board. Although that's very risky, obviously. But
Yeah,
and there's also the stage one. What's the English name? Vibrava.
yes, Vibrava.
That thing is broken.
Yeah,
Like
really good stage one.
it's crazy. Like I won so many games by just going to pinch, rare candy, Vibrava, knockout, win. I always had to try to like remember how many energies the other guys had in his discard pile because I didn't want to count them because then
Yeah, then they know.
he's understanding what I'm trying to do. So I always had to like, uh, oh, how many of I don't know did you play and look through his discard pile and count the energies and just pretend I'm looking for something else or something because people didn't expect that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I've done that before. What's the other card that does the? There's I can't remember it right now, but there's one card that did like damage based on how much your opponent played down. That I've done that before. I think it was Garbodor.
Yeah, Garbodor
Yeah,
items.
I love that Garbodor. Frankly, that's one of my favorite cards.
Yeah, I think it's a bit too strong, but it's a very interesting card for sure.
Yeah. One benefit of the other Torterra line that a lot of people, like I said, they play two of the
Yeah,
Giga Drain guys. One thing you can do, you can't do it against Luxchamp, but you can do it against like other like slower decks like the Gengar decks and stuff like that. You can set up two Torterras and you use Flygon to switch between them, and Nidoqueen
yeah,
like gets more healing.
yeah, I can see that.
But you can't do it
But
against Luxchamp at all.
yeah, like the deck was primarily built to beat Lux Jump, and
Yeah.
like, and I mean, if you have a Totara Nidoqueen, you probably like most decks aren't really touching that. I think so. Having two seems kind of.
I did it against the
I mean, it
Steelix
could
deck and it
probably
was
come
good.
up,
Yeah.
but you could also like I did a lot of the stalling thing where if I needed to heal, I would just drag up something.
Yeah.
like in top 16 at Nationals, I think, I was just losing super hard, so I would just like spend 5 turns dragging up Axis and Azelfs and stuff, and just wasting my opponent's resources, and just promoting, I don't know, Claydol, which could tank a hit. And I would just waste that time till I recovered, because I needed a night maintenance or something.
Yeah, that's honestly a really good
So
strategy. I've won a lot of games with different Flygon decks just by you catch them on the off turn, especially if you bring up like a Spirit Tomb because they can't play the Warp
yeah,
Point. They have to have an energy.
yeah. You could also do the drag up the Spirit Tomb and lock it or something. If they had a Nidoqueen, you could use Azelf.
Oh yeah, you can. That's one of the win cons with like the Memory Berry too that a lot of
Yeah,
people do nowadays is you drag up the Spirit Tomb with like the Torterra and then you use the Flygon to lock it.
yeah,
And then it pretty much comes down to do they play like Warp Energy to get out of it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, but yeah.
I've definitely like had games like that
Yeah,
before, but yeah, it's nice
you'd
knowing
have
the
to
thought
be,
process.
you'd have to be super careful with Nidoqueen because you could really. I lost a game at a challenge to Jasmine, I think, where I had Nidoqueen and Spiritomb and she locked it.
Oh yeah, because
And I was so upset by that. I made her say lock up for like 30 minutes.
they can do the lock up and you heal the 20 in between turns.
Yeah, so it would never die.
Yeah, that's one reason. In the list that I have for it, I didn't build my list that I use nowadays. I stole it from a good friend James G, who built a lot of 2010 decks, and he has a one
Hmm.
warp energy in there for that like exact scenario with either the
Yeah,
Azelf or the
that I
Chatot.
can see.
Yeah. He doesn't play Call Energy though, which that's like you would never
Ugh,
even think about doing that back then. I don't think.
that was the best card in the deck, I think. Like, okay, not the best card in the deck, but it's such a important, healthy card, I think. Because it's just a good setup piece. It's not broken. It's just nice. And it serves a purpose later. You have another energy that's nice to have.
Yeah,
It was one of my favorite cards, Call Energy.
I definitely like it
Just,
more than like Battle VIP Pass, which we got recently, which just
ugh,
loses purpose after turn one.
ugh. I think this is my least favorite card ever printed, VIP Pass.
I
Because it's like the player who is ahead gets more ahead kind of thing, where if you have VIP Pass on the first turn, not only do you have a broken start, but um, like if your opponent doesn't have them, he doesn't get the broken start. But as punishment for having a bad start, he also has a deck filled with crap now.
Yeah,
It's like the opposite of God game design, where someone who's behind because he has a bad draw should get some comeback possibility, like a comeback mechanic. It's the opposite. It's a don't come back mechanic, where if you're losing harder now.
I don't think they ever even intended that card to be good. Is the thing that is interesting.
I
Like,
think they intended that to be played with
I think they printed it
supporter
with.
that discards a hand.
I think they printed it for Mew V Max is the thing. Cause I remember it came out in like a prize pack right after Mew V Max. But usually the cards that they print in these prize packs in Japan are like utter garbage,
Yeah,
like completely unusable cards. And like this
yeah,
was the weird exception. That and like Cremamatic was like the other weird exception where it's like weirdly
yeah.
this card's actually good.
And Tropical Beach.
Oh,
Oops.
yeah, that was another one. That was a little bit more of a problem because that was a Worlds promo even. Um,
Yeah, that was. I mean, we didn't have that much of a problem with it in Europe because they were like 30, 40 euros. So
yeah, because you guys can use the different language ones, right?
yeah, right. But the English one, I had one English one that sold it to some American guy on Poké Gym for like a few $100.
Yeah. You played Kling Klang with Tropical Beach, right?
Yes, in
Oh,
2013.
I love that deck.
It was so fun, and it just had the most unfortunate run ever.
Yeah, because you got top
Because I played,
32 at Worlds, right? With that deck.
yeah, I played against Dylan Bryan in Swiss.
Oh, with the Flareon.
Yeah, he ran. No, that's not even like yeah, Flareon, which beats my Cobalion, Leafeon, which beats my Keldeo, Terrakion, which beats my Darkrai. 4 special hammers. My deck was all special energies. You run four what's it called? Enhanced hammer?
Yeah, hand simmer.
And he ran the Drift Blim, which says it is 50 for each special energy in your opponent's discard pile.
Yeah, and he ran that for plasma in the deck.
Yeah, and he also ran Gabodo.
Yeah, the Garbotoxin.
Yeah, so his deck was like all counters to me. Like he had every counter in the book. I wouldn't have like. I don't think if I play him 1,000 times, I win a single game. And I played against him in Switch.
Maybe if you get the laser combo, you can donk him, but that's about it.
I didn't play any lasers.
Oh, it was the other one that played lasers. Yeah, there's one Kling Klang I think that played lasers that year.
What?
It was like a specific. It was very specific math that I think they posted about. Like, I played the laser for like this very specific. I think it was like a plasma matchup thing.
Yeah.
But I don't like
Anyways,
laser.
I played against Dylan Bryan in Swiss, and I made top 32. And I walk to the table, he sits there, and I'm like, I even asked the judge if I could just wait 2 minutes if he just kind of, I don't know, had a stroke or something. Because it was the only way of winning. So I don't think I took a prize in 2 games.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate hit in the top 32.
Yeah.
Like, because realistically, otherwise, like that top 32 was a lot of plasma, a lot of Darkrai, like all stuff that you have prepped for.
Dylan played against Jason in the next round, who won Worlds, and who was playing a basic Darkrai deck with no outs to Kling Klang. That would have been a free win in a way. But yeah.
Yeah, the Darkrai deck is kind of like it's very like consistent, but it didn't have like any text to it, so like it kind of falls apart if it just doesn't get going.
Yeah.
Because I've played.
Also had a weird deck in that list. I had the Giant Cape, I think it's called.
Yeah, the one that's
plus 38 points.
Yeah, the plus 20 HP, I think it is. Yeah, it's plus 20. I just checked.
Yeah, 50. Yeah, 50 is more than Pokemon. And the use case was like we had an Eviolite in that slot, and to put on the Cobalion so it doesn't get one shot by Kyurem.
Yeah.
But then there was this Blastoise deck, Blastoise Keldeo, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to win, because you had the Kling Klang, so the Keldeo didn't do any damage. So you could use... So they had to put all their water energies on Blastoise to one-shot the Kling Klang.
Yeah, and that
so if you run the Giant Cape instead of the Eviolite, your Cobalion still doesn't get one-shot, but you can put the Giant Cape on Kling Klang against Blastoise, so they cannot one-shot it.
Yeah, that Blastoise is a really bad attacker. I would not want to be attacking with that thing.
Yeah, but there was the gameplay for them. I mean, it wasn't like a great idea, but it was the only thing they could do, and so that actually happened to me at Worlds that year, I think. And like the second round I played against Blastoise, and they put the cape on the Kling Klang, and they kind of just scooped because nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm the only guy on Limitless who has like a tournament finish with a Giant Cape.
Yeah, the card is like, especially because like that era is so much like just big basic EXs, right? That card just did not see play over Eviolite.
No.
But that's really cool to know the like tech behind it.
Yeah. Also ran the Raikou EX?
Yeah, EX, the one that snipes.
Yes.
That card is really cool. I used to play it a lot.
I don't even remember why. There was some use case for it, but don't remember, honestly.
I used to play it with Eels before the Rayquaza came out.
Yeah, that was like where it's supposed to be. But you're not supposed to discard 3 special energies from the deck which cannot accelerate.
Yeah, but I mean, if it wins you the game, right?
Yeah, true. There was some use case for it, but I cannot remember it. I have to ask my friend.
Yeah, I don't know what it hits for weakness, because like the water types like Keldeo were weak to grass at the time, so like I'm not sure if it's like a weakness thing or if it's just like there's like maybe
probably just a finish the game thing.
Yeah, maybe. Nowadays that card's really expensive. All the cards from the Dark Explorers set are like
I think I still have it. It was funny when Corona happened and all the stuff got expensive. My friend messaged me like, "Do we have these cards?" And I'm just opening my drawer, just pulling out 4 full art chorus and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's like $100
There
card
was some
now.
stuff I had lying around and just put it in like a drawer somewhere because cards had no value, right? Cards that rotated had no value, so
Yeah, I kind of missed that. I'm gonna be
stashed them
honest.
somewhere. And I don't know, he came over sometime later and then just opened the drawer and just went like 20 euros, 30 euros, 20 euros, 50 euros. I'm like, no way these cards are worth that much. And I checked, like just like the random Umbreon GX, I think, or EX, and just stuff like that. It just had like lying around because it had no value, and it's all just crazy expensive now. When I moved, I found like a box in a box in a box with cards, and there was like a German Charizard from EX Delta Species,
Oh yeah, yeah. The
like just sitting in the box without a sleeve because it was like a crap card.
yeah, it's not a good card at all.
Yeah, and I just checked, and it's like 100 euros or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of the especially like the Generation 3 cards like as a I build these old decks, right? So like I'm always keeping
Yeah.
my eye on the prices. They are it's rough out there. I'm buying copies that look like they went through the dishwasher so I can afford these decks.
Yeah, my, yeah, a friend of mine also, yeah, he's like the most beat up Latias star I've ever seen because he built LBS and all his
Yeah.
cards look like, yeah, someone ran a car over them.
I just have a
But what can you do?
proxy for that because I even the fake copy printed in the Worlds deck is still like a $40 card. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's someone in the German community was selling like his collection of old Worlds decks, and it's crazy. Like I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how much he wants for that. And I'm like a few $100s for each deck. Like, huh, maybe not.
Yeah, some of the 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007 especially. Oh, and '08 because '08's got the gold stars in there too. But like once you get past that, the
Yeah,
prices aren't too bad. But like those years are really really bad. Um,
yeah,
'Cause I've been trying to get all of them myself. I have like 80% of them now, but I don't own any of the '04 ones. My goal is either to get the actual deck or get like a, if I build, Gardevoir with real cards and it costs me less than buying the full Worlds deck, right? Then like, what do I care, right?
really.
Yeah, like the Worlds deck for Gardevoir for 2004 is like pretty expensive, but like if I buy run over copies of Gardevoir, then it's a little less expensive, right?
Yeah, true.
So in some cases, it's actually cheaper to build the actual deck. I think Jay Hornung, U.S. player, mentioned that with the 2008 Scissor Toxicroak deck that won the juniors division that year,
Yeah,
that it's just like cheaper to build the actual deck than to buy the deck.
yeah, I can see that. Because like nobody wants these cards except like the 5 players building the weird retro decks.
2008's a special case. You don't get many people building that one, especially.
Yeah, it was not a good format.
I find
And
solace in like enjoying my silly Garchomp deck from that year, but like, it's not a good format now.
you know, because I feel like when they designed the cards, they didn't have rotation in mind, so they like cards ended up being in a rotation together, which shouldn't have been together, like Double Rainbow Energy and Gardevoir,
Yeah.
or which I also hated was the Bronzong with the Scramble Energy,
Oh, yep. That's
because it was like, oh, I'm losing. Guess I'm getting my triple cut, my triple Rainbow Energy. Nice, because I'm losing, because all of your stuff has a bunch of damage on it, but it's not dead. So I'm losing, so I get to use the broken energy card. Ugh.
yeah, and it's especially so easy that year with like the Empoleon to just never take a prize card until you just sweep the board,
Yeah,
right? Um,
yeah.
but like,
And like
go ahead.
Cessation Crystal and Absol or something, like these things should have existed together, I think.
Japan actually had a wider rotation than we did, which is interesting because I know a group of Japanese retro deck players, and they have a format from that year that they play at their local leagues, and it's essentially the equivalent of Fire Red and Leaf Green all the way until Legends Awakened when like Kingdra released, like the really fast Diamond and Pearl Kingdra released.
Oh, yeah.
So just this gigantic format, and you just get some really weird, like, unplayable cards that we never even touched over here that are playable because they got to exist with, like, Cessation Crystal.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I remember in 2008, the hot tag at Worlds was Crushing Hammer.
Yeah, the energy removal
Like
too.
it had a different name back then, but it was Crushing Hammer, and like some people were rolling up with like Magmotar with Crushing Hammer, and that was like the spice, a coin flip card.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good against the Scramble and Double Rainbow, though, you know?
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. It's just kind of it's not the kind of card I want to be good. Yeah.
I found the images because I'm fascinated by this Japanese format, and the craziest thing that happened with it with that huge card pool is you get Gardevoir existing alongside Rocket's admin. So you could put your opponent to a one card hand and then lock them, which is just crazy. Like that should never happen.
Yeah, imagine if that would happen. Not like that would ever happen in modern Pokemon.
I mean, to be fair, they haven't printed Ability Lock in a while. Like they've been Path of the Peak was like
Yeah.
the only existence of it, and like with Quick Ball around, there was at least some outs to it. They really haven't printed like a Garbodor card in a while though, to just lock down the
Yeah.
abilities on the board because I think they realized that people just don't always love playing against those cards because sometimes it does come down to like draws.
Yeah. I always feel like it has to exist to some degree, but I felt like a lot of games of modern Pokemon came down to who has the VIP pass, and like that player is winning unless the other guy can go Roxanne path and the first guy draws dead. And that's kind of not fun for anyone, so I'm glad they're moving away from that. I'm so excited about boss order potentially rotating.
I don't think they're
Like
gonna do it. I'm feeling like we're gonna get another boss's orders.
don't I mean they're printing so many shitty boss effects right now.
I
Like
mean,
they have this
maybe.
supporter, what's it called? Lissa?
Yeah, Alicia. Yeah, that one.
Blue-eyed girl with the Ataria.
Yeah, I think that like
And it's
only does it for a
boss order,
basic.
but bad. It goes for basic and it confuses, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And there's also this stage 1 cat, psychic cat Pokemon.
Meowstic. Yep, yep.
Yeah, which there's like a trainer card,
Yeah, if you
which is
discard.
only useful on turn 1, but Meowstic can discard it to use a boss effect or something.
Yeah, I thought that card was kind of cool, but I don't think it'll ever get used, unfortunately.
I mean, if boss order rotates, who knows, right? I
I
mean, these
suppose.
cards feel like they're printed for that specific purpose. So I'm kind of like, I don't want to get too excited about it, because I want to get hyped about something, because boss order is like the defining card for modern Pokemon, so if that card ever goes away, the game becomes very different, and I think I will like it more. But I don't want to get too excited about the potential. It's like hyping yourself, oh, I'm gonna get a pony for Christmas, and then you don't, and you're like, shouldn't have gotten so excited.
Yeah, and it's really ironic because like there was two different windows where we haven't had that effect legal. One of them was very beginning of 2014 when they nerfed Pokemon Catcher to be a coin flip, and there was one set
Yeah.
before they printed the new Lysander Boss Orders effect. Um, and I really like
Yeah.
that format. That's a fun one that I go back and revisit because like you
Yeah.
get
Boss order just
big
changes how you
basics.
play, because it's I
Yeah,
always used to say like old Pokemon was about how can I get 6 prize cards, and new Pokemon is about how fast can I get 6 prize cards.
you can.
Because all the decks are capable of taking 6 prize cards very fast. So it's a race, and the other felt more like a strategic battle and not like,
I felt like you had to like actually take apart your opponent's board is like the big thing.
yeah,
Like if you can win a modern game of Pokemon and your opponent has like all of their attackers on the board, but you just like took out like three Dedennes or something for your
yeah,
win condition.
exactly.
But like I felt like it feels like a lot of games of 2010. It's like your main guy goes down and then you kind of like simmer out right after that.
Yeah. And you always had to like do math, like, okay, this guy goes down in 2 turns, so by this time I can have built this if I draw this.
Yeah,
Because your opponent couldn't just ignore what you were doing. In modern Pokemon, people can just ignore what you're doing.
yeah. There's so much
Like,
more one shots nowadays. Like I know it wasn't like there wasn't
yeah,
one shots back then because you had like LBS, which was like a one shot deck,
yeah,
but like it definitely felt like there was less ability to like one shot every single turn as there is now. Where like even when you play a
yeah,
slower deck like Gardevoir, for instance, it's like okay, I go behind 3 prizes and then I'm going to take 3 1 shots to win the game.
yeah. I just hate all the one-shots because it takes away the math, I think, in a way where you have to like calculate, okay, how many turns can this guy last? Like some years ago, there was like there's a games fair in Germany. There were tournaments there, but they made us play with starter decks because there were a lot of kids there and it was unfair to beat the kids with real decks. So we played with like a Swampert starter decks, the Diving Draw Swampert.
Oh yes, the I know that one,
Discard a
2018.
card,
Yes,
draw three, something like
yes, I
that.
love that card.
Yeah, and it just felt more like Pokemon than Pokemon felt at the time. Because it was like, okay, I'm evolving, I'm manually attaching energies. If I promote a big guy, he's probably going to last a few turns. I can kind of calculate what my opponent is doing. Because like there's like a limit on what your opponent can do. And I feel like in modern Pokemon, there's no limit. Because if you draw the right cards, you can do everything. Like you can one-shot everything. You can attack everything. You can do all the things. So there's no playing around it because it's not like you can like, oh, I know this deck. I know it's capable of outputting this much damage, so I can play around that. Instead, it's like, I hope he's not capable of doing everything because he
Yeah,
certainly can. And I cannot stop him. I just have to pray to get the right cards.
it's one of the formats I really like that I've played. Return to is this is right when the Trash Alliance Garbodor released, and in that format, that's when Tapu Lele also released, the one that searches supporter cards. And
Yeah,
it felt like a lot more games are like you have to like 2 hit KO your opponent's attackers instead of just chasing liabilities because everyone had finally had the ability to like drop Shaman from their deck. So like because
yeah,
Lele kind of filled that niche, but it wasn't like a liability. It had good HP.
yeah. Because Tapu Lele was actually pretty beefy and actually had a decent attack. So
Yeah, so like I remember the list that won the nationals in the U.S. that year. Tord Rekov played at the internationals. He played 4 Tapu Lele, and he was just like, well, if I start it, I can attack with it, right?
yeah,
And that format like is really fun to revisit because like there's not nearly as many 1 hit KOs. There's a lot of like 2 hit KOs, and you still get like the
yeah.
modern Pokemon with like boss's orders in Lysander. But
Mm.
that's a fun one I really enjoy. I ran a tournament for it actually 2 weeks ago, which was really fun.
Oh, is there any recording of that? Because I would love to watch some old games.
I didn't record the tournament, no.
No.
You can like there's a couple of YouTubers who've like played the format in the past though that have like uploaded some games on it. I actually did because I used to do retro tabletop games as my channel.
Mm-hmm.
I was never able to get like really good matchups though for this format in particular just because I was playing with a newer guy. He doesn't play a lot of Pokemon and he was always my tabletop partner for these
Yeah.
videos. So like I couldn't play like any like the like complex decks. It was like the Vikabulu versus Vespiquen. Can the Vespiquen get enough guys in the discard to one shot me by the end of the
Yeah.
game? So like you don't get a ton of great games, but like there's a lot of cool decks like Metagross that are just like these like really beefy tank decks in the format that are pretty fun.
Yeah. I think I ran the. Is that the? I'm not sure if it's the same format. I ran Decidueye 90s,
Yes, yes, that was a good deck.
and that was just I love that deck. And I had this really weird Turtonator GX
Yep.
tech, which does like 20 for 2 energies, and if you attack it, you get 60 damage or something. So you could beat the Metagross deck by attaching Choice Belt and doing 100.
Yeah, I remember seeing
And
that
if
pop
they
up.
attack you, yeah,
I think Andrew Mahone ran that in his Zoroark list because he was like the same thing. Like I can't beat this Metagross, so he put that in
yeah.
there. It's a really cool tech.
I wish I had that list. Like, uh,
It wouldn't be too
it's a
hard to
bit sad.
rebuild
Like,
at least.
yeah,
There's a lot of like
or
resources for
all the
this
cards.
time.
It's just kind of sad that so much stuff is lost. Like I have so many cool deck lists I wish I kept, but I didn't think that ever like there would be people playing old Pokemon. So yeah, I never saw a point back then. I'm actually amazed I still have my Worlds 2010 deck because I never took that apart.
That's really cool that you still have all the pieces for it.
Yeah, it's sitting in my drawer. I even have like a friend took one of the FlyTerras and like he used nail polish remover to remove most of the stuff on the card and just drew a full art card on it.
Oh, that's I think I've seen that before on your pinned post, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my Twitter.
Yeah, I remember seeing that before. Let me go find it. It's like a really cool when people do that. I don't have any cards like
And the
that
deck is
myself
like
though.
all foil and stuff. So yeah, that's something very special to me. I'm just glad I never took that apart. Although I think I lost one of the true pinch at some points and like, I had to get a new one.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Let me see. Yep, there it is. Okay. The only thing is that you're running the wrong Nidoran. I think I pointed that out in the comment section a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, I think I also lost that one. Like
Yeah, that would make
I
sense.
think the deck was just it wasn't even in a single deck box. It just like had this, these Japanese card suitcases kind of things. These big plastic boxes, which looks like a little suitcase,
Yeah.
and just had this thing sitting in there. So probably at some point I grabbed the Nidoran and put it somewhere else and didn't notice.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you built
But
another deck with Nidoqueen or something, because, like, that was still a good card going forward.
yeah,
And then Nidoqueen's, like, really ridiculous. Like, that card's just absolutely broken, honestly. That's part of why Gardevoir is so
yeah,
broken nowadays. It's because you just...
yeah. The Nidoqueen is. It also has two good attacks.
Yeah, yeah. Like, even when I'm
And
playing a
as
deck
I
that's not
remember,
focused around it, I try to include energy so it can attack.
yeah, I beat one guy at Nationals who had like a really bad opening. So I just went Nidoran. I think it has an attack that gets a supporter, right?
Yeah, yeah. Offer help, search as a supporter.
I think I got a Judge or something, and then I went Candy, Nidoqueen, Psychic, Judge, and I just beat him to death with a Nidoqueen. With a beefy healing Nidoqueen.
Yeah, because like the opponent, the funny thing is like the opponent either has to play around like the possibility of you dropping a Dusknoir by keeping their bench low, or they have to play around Nidoqueen by keeping their bench low, right? Like they never know what's gonna happen to them
Yeah.
until you just drop it on them. But yeah, the offer help attack's actually really good. I've used that before.
Yeah. That's also a good trivia point about the deck, I think, because we were discussing whether to run Nidoqueen or Dusknoir. And I think we needed Nidoqueen for like Gengar and like Gyarados to some degree, but Jumpluff was really hard without the Dusknoir.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we kind of decided, okay, we have to like take one bad matchup, and the Nidoqueen has more synergy with the deck, so we run the Nidoqueen, and if we play against Jumpluff, bad luck happens.
Yeah.
And my friend Tobias, he got all the Jumpluff and Nationals, so we had a terrible result, and I won because I didn't see a single one.
One thing that I've done to see in the modern list is like they run 3 Spiritomb. That's kind of how you answer Jumpluff. Is you're just like, well, you're not going to play any trainer cards, right? So just slow them down enough where you can actually get on the board.
Yeah, doesn't seem too reliable. I mean, they had the Broken Time Space, right?
Yeah, it's just it's really hard for them to like draw with Claydol when they can't play down the like poking
Yeah.
out comms and stuff like that. That like bring their hand down.
I mean, certainly helps, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like kind of good. The only other thing that's like really big in the modern list that I see that like wasn't mentioned was like you mentioned Judge, which is a good card as well. But like, a lot of lists run Professor Oak nowadays. It's kind of like I don't think people thought very highly of Oak until like Worlds that year from like the old posts. I mean, a lot of people like played.
Oak's New Theory, or
Yeah, the one that draws 6 cards, shuffle draw 6.
yeah,
A lot of people seem to like really like Looker back in the day, but then Yamato won World, or not Yamato, Yuta Kamatsuda won Worlds that year with the Oaks in his Lux Chomp, and I think that kind of made people realize like, huh, maybe this card's like actually like pretty good.
mm-hmm.
And like,
Yeah,
sorry,
I can see that.
yeah, it's it's just a good draw card, right? So like if your opponent like sprays your clay doll, you only have one clay doll. It's like decent to draw with that. But like the judge is actually
Yeah,
really cool. I didn't know you actually played that. It's like that's
I
cool
did.
knowing.
I think before Worlds I decided, okay, if I just set up, I'm probably going to win because my deck outmuscles everything. So I just cut the judge for Pokemon communication because so I had more setup.
That's fair.
Yeah, that was the logic. I don't know if it holds up, but that was the idea.
The Pokemon communication definitely helps. The judge is like not bad though either, because like I've played a lot of like the
Yeah,
Tyranitar Prime deck, and that deck like I had to put judge in there because it felt like you weren't like, and this is kind of the same thing for Flygon too. It's really hard to like use your clay dolls because they're always gonna power spray you unless you like get rid of their hand.
yeah, but that's where the Bronzer comes in, right?
Yeah, that deck can run the Bronzong, whereas like the Tyranitar can't really do that. So I put judge in.
You don't want to run a 3 retreat Pokemon in other decks.
Well, yeah, we have the Moonlight Stadium in Tyranitar, so it's like a possibility.
Oh yeah.
But the goal with like the Tyranitar deck that I built is just to like sit behind Spirit Tomb until you have like your Tyranitar and your Nidoqueen, and then just go in,
Hmm.
and then you just like start one shotting everything because that card's just ridiculously broken once it actually starts attacking.
Yeah.
I won't hold you for too much longer. I have one more question on like a list
No
thing.
worries. I don't have anything better to do, so
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming out by the way and working with me on
yeah,
this.
sure.
One other,
I love talking about like old decks,
yeah,
and it just always makes me happy when random people I don't know like link me on their post of their FlyTerra deck. Like some Japanese guy posted a photo of the deck and with all Japanese cards, and I saw that and just kind of it just makes me happy to think that I built something that was so nice and so cool and so unique that people remember that and people have that specific deck built. Like, and it's not like a deck that everyone had or that like was like kind of common knowledge. This is something I created and people have that. And it's something that maybe it's not the best deck, but it's so fun and people love it. And that's just nice, I think. So I love talking about the deck and love seeing people post the deck or ask me questions about it, stuff like that.
it's definitely like I don't think it's like a top tier deck, but like I definitely I have respect on the deck because it feels like the better the player behind the deck, like you mentioned that options thing, the better the player behind the deck,
Yeah.
the more options they see. That's not just like Giga Drain, right? When you put a
Yeah.
good player behind the wheel of that thing, they figure out like, okay, if I bring up this guy and trap him, then I get extra turns.
Yeah, exactly.
You figure out like the plays where it's like, okay, if I weave a sand wall in one turn, then this is the
Exactly.
result, and like the deck gets like infinitely scarier when you have a good player behind it.
Yeah. Also, I think the memory vary there's a lot in that, like in that way.
Yeah,
Because like if your opponent knows you have or suspects you have a memory berry, they have to play around that because they can easily lose a winning game by not respecting the memory berry. So just the possibility of the memory berry existing changes a lot, I think.
yeah, it's like
Because they can be up 5 prices and then you just trap something and mill them.
yeah, that's a pretty common win con for the deck.
Yeah.
But like I said, the memory berry also has like weird other uses that you just see every once in a while. I mentioned the sleep powder where I won a game with that, but I've also I had a turn one where I had a really bad hand, but I had a candy for Nidoqueen, and I used it and I memory buried the Nidoqueen so I could use the offer help to still get a supporter.
That's very specific. But yeah.
You run into just like it's one of those cards where like it has a very obvious purpose, but every once in a while you just like
Mhm.
run into those scenarios where it's helpful in something else because it's not like a dead card in like every other scenario. It's got like some use value.
Yeah.
The other
Okay.
question I was going to ask about the list, this is from my friend. He really likes fourth grass energy, and this is like a specific thing because if you have like an energy anywhere else on your board, you only play like three in the list usually, and then you can't use the Torterra level X's really big attack, and he really loves that attack. So it's like, did you ever consider like the fourth grass in the deck?
I have never used that attack in my life.
That's fair. I know it's
Not
better.
a single time.
It's definitely better in like 2008 when you have like that one Sceptile that like doubles your energy, but like
Yeah.
That's funny to know you never even like use the attack.
I've never used. I don't think I've ever announced that attack in my life. Not in testing, not in tournament play, not ever.
That's
Like it just doesn't come up because you put all of your grass energy on the FlyTerra, and then you cannot retreat it.
yeah,
So
because you need it for Flygon.
no, I've never. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, and
I
like
mean, maybe it is, but I didn't consider it a thing.
I don't really think it is. It's
And
just he likes that attack, so he runs the extra energy, so you can do that.
I don't really remember even what it does. I think it's 3 grass and a colorless energy, and then
Yeah.
it does. I have no idea what it does.
It does 100 damage,
100,
so it's like a higher damage ceiling, and then you do like
like
30
7 damage.
to the bench.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's the best answer I could have hoped for, honestly. I think because like he's always like raving about the attack, so it's gonna be really funny when he hears like that it never
I
got
mean,
used.
maybe it is good, but I don't think you ever have the time to attach 4 energies to a FlyTerra.
Yeah,
Or if you have the time to do that, you're probably winning anyways.
yeah, it's like a perfect definition of like a win more strategy, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe in 1,000 games it comes up once, but
My friend still
maybe
has
if
a
you only draw the FlyTerra and the energies, but no.
speaking on like
I don't think I've ever used
yeah.
the second attack of the other FlyTerra either.
Oh yeah, land shake. Yeah, I've never used that one either. Yeah, that attack's like really bad.
Isn't it like 4 energies for 80 or something?
Yeah, and it's like it has like a an effect of it where if the opponent plays down a guy, they take damage, but like it's pretty much never relevant.
Yeah.
I have a bet out with my friend Nolo. He's another like 2010 guy who likes going back and building the decks.
Yeah.
And he's had a bet with the Bronzong where if I win a game with Bronzong's second attack, the payback attack, then I get $20. It has not happened yet.
It can be relevant in sudden death.
Yeah, because that's true. Because if you only have one prize card left, yeah, it does like 60 damage. And I've been telling him I'm going to do it.
I think I might have attacked with it at some point, but not for like the effect.
Yeah, because
Just
it only works if you have one prize card left. Like it's such a specific effect, right?
it's like 10, and if you have 1 prize left, it's 60 and confusion.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that.
exactly that.
Yeah. Not really. I mean, if you do it, please film it. I want to see that. Just grab your phone, make a video.
I haven't done it yet. I've done more absurd things weirdly in this format, but I've never won with payback yet. Because usually, like Bronzong's just like not on the board past like the first few turns because he's like done his job, right?
Yeah.
So it'd have to be like in a
mean-
matchup where I didn't use him for his effect of hand refresh.
Yeah, but then you can also not just play him down and somehow accelerate him.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like you'd have to play him down, attach, and the next turn. And then it's not even good. It's like 60 damage. Like,
Well, it does hit psychic weakness, so like there's that where like
I suppose, but
you can like you could hit like a Nidoqueen or a Gardevoir for like 90.
doesn't sound that amazing either.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. I'll let you know when that $20 comes in, but I might have to get back to you in a few years.
Yeah, no, never used either of these things. I mean, the grass thing is also like the deck is just super tight because you have so much stuff.
yeah,
And I'm obsessed with consistency, so I had to have the 3/3 Claydol. So whenever I see a new list which has 2 Claydolls, it just makes me go like, this is exactly what I didn't want to do with that deck. So it kind of hurts to see that.
yeah.
But if Luxstrom is not that big of a thing anymore in this format, I can kind of see it.
Luxchomp's still like a pretty decent thing. The thing is though, like the Spirit Tombs, like the slots of the Claydol have usually gone into the Spirit Tombs, which the more often you have that up against Luxchomp, the less likely they are to kill the Claydol. That's kind of like hard to. They can't attach the energy gains when the Spirit Tomb's up, so they have to find the Lux Ray, which is also hard because they can't use their search cards to get it.
Yeah, I mean they're on BB, right? But
Yeah, but they have to like Cyrus grab the BB. So they
Yeah.
can't play it that turn usually, because usually they play like 1 or 2.
yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, that's kind of why they do
I had
it.
the Bronzong, so yeah, I ran the Claydol kind of goes with the Bronzong, where you put out the Baltoy and use the Bronzong, so you want higher odds of drawing into the Claydol, and even if one Baltoy dies, you're not losing because you have another one.
Yeah, I've had the
So
late
that
game
can
plays with a hand refresh too, like because the opponent like never expects like the hand disruption against a Flygon deck usually.
yeah,
Anyway, I really appreciate your time today helping me out with this and
yeah.
telling me about the deck because like a lot of the things like we can make speculations and we can read like old forum posts of people that ran into the deck and they're like, what the heck was this guy playing? I don't know. But
There's
like,
my tournament report is up at Poke Gym.
yeah, I've read that before. The because I recognize when you sent me your Discord username, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the account named Yoshi that posted that.
Yeah.
Actually, just
There's also
yeah,
one for the German nationals on the German message board, so I can send you that if you want to, but you'd have to throw it in some translator.
yeah. I have a German friend also who could more faithfully translate it for me.